Hey there, my name is Jared and welcome to Jerry's Game Shop. I'm excited to dive in and teach you how to play Star Wars Legion.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's them! Blast them!
Before we dive into talking about the ins and outs of playing Star Wars Legion, I wanted to let you know that this is a longer learn to play video because we do have a demo game where we really dive into some of these things that we're talking about. So if you want to, there are timestamps below that you can skip around to the parts that you're maybe not so sure about in the game. If you've already read the rulebook a little bit or have had a game or two, feel free to jump around on those timestamps below. Before we dive in, it's important to know that there is a new version of Star Wars Legion. You can distinguish between the two versions and the product associated with those versions by the logo on the product. You can see that the logo on the left is the one from Legacy Legion, and the logo on the right is the one associated with New Legion. Now, all of the product, for the most part, with exception to Emperor Palpatine, to Rebel Pathfinders, and to the Imperial Royal Guard, are still in the living game as of recording. And you can use Legacy product if you bought that before New Legion came out, or that's just what your store has. There are print and play options available to you at Atomic Mass Games website, and we have that linked in the description below to update your Legacy Legion product to the new cards and information. Without further ado, let's dive into playing the game. Star Wars Legion is a miniature war game where players alternate activating units of single mini heroes, which are commanders or operatives, or vehicles, which are support or heavy units. There are also multiple miniature units of core, special forces, and support units, and each unit has their stats on a corresponding unit card. In addition to this unit card, upgrade cards may be added to the unit to add different abilities, additional miniatures, or improve certain stats. We will cover building your list at a later point in this video. The object of the game is to score 12 victory points, or score more victory points than your opponent by the end of 5 rounds. The way in which these points are scored are determined during the setup phase of each game. We will come back to this idea as well later in the video. Let's dive into the card anatomy. And again, it is important to note that there is a new version of this game. If your cards look like this on the left, in order to play the game, you will need to, in official tournaments at least, you will have to get print and play cards that you can download and get the cards looking like that on the card that you see on the right. A lot of units' stats have changed, and so it's important to have the newest cards if you plan to play anywhere outside of your kitchen table. You can do that by clicking the link in the description below. I also recommend checking out tabletop-admiral.com for updated cards to reference. If you don't like printing out the new cards for playing at home, I suggest using the companion view on a tablet. It helps from having to pull up cards all the time and just makes cleanup afterwards a lot faster. At the top of the unit card, you'll find the name of the unit. A unit that includes the dot to the left of the name may not be included more than once in your list. For instance, Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker has multiple versions in this game, and you cannot include multiple Luke Skywalkers in your army. Under that is the subtitle, and if it has one, certain rules and command cards may reference the subtitle, such as command cards that are specific to a particular version of Luke Skywalker. Then you see the faction symbol. This symbol shows the faction that you can take this unit in, so you can't take Rebel troopers in your Empire army. Some units are mercenaries and may be included in a host of different factions. Unit rank. In Star Wars Legion, there are different ranks that must be included in your list. Each unit's rank is listed on its card at this location. Here you see the points value. And in Star Wars Legion, you're allowed 600 points for a recon game, which is a smaller, faster-paced game played on a 3-foot by 3-foot table, and 1,000 points for a standard game. We'll talk more about the difference in the next section of this video. The points listed on the card detracts from the total number of points that you have available to build your army for your particular game mode. Here you can see the number of miniatures. This is the number of miniatures included in the base, unupgraded form of a particular unit. This is the unit type. Each unit has a unit type, and each unit type has slightly different rules that are related to courage, cover, and movement-related things. You can consult the April 30th, 2025 edition of the rulebook on page 39 to learn more about the unit types that we just don't have time to cover in this video. Here's the upgrade bar. The upgrade types that the unit may take are listed here through these icons. The keywords for a particular unit are additional rules that this, or abilities that this unit has. They are listed here in this section. These keywords are explained in a glossary in the back of the rulebook. It is also updated at tabletop-admiral.com or other cool tools like Legion Quick Guide. Wound threshold is listed here. When a single miniature unit receives wound tokens equal to this number, it is immediately defeated and removed from the table. On a multiple miniature unit, this is the wound threshold for each miniature. Meaning, if a unit's wound threshold is 1, a miniature is removed for each wound taken. Here you see the courage value. This is essentially the bravery of this unit, and we'll dive into this in the activation phase section of the video. Here you see the speed. This defines what movement tool is used for a particular unit. There are 3 options, speed 1, 2, or 3, and they have a particular tool associated with that number. Here you see the weapons. This is the dice type and number of dice used at a particular range. We'll cover these in more detail during the activation phase of this video. Defense. This is the color of dice rolled for defense. Here you see the surge chart. Each dice has a surge symbol. Some units convert the symbol to a different dice result. Some units convert to a crit, some to a hit, others don't convert them. On defense, some units convert a surge to a block, others do not. We will cover this in more detail during the activation phase section of this video. Now that we've gone over the basics, let's talk about preparing for your first game. First, you have to build an army, a command hand, and a battle deck. Standard size armies are composed of units that equal 1,000 points or less and include 1 to 2 commander units, 0 to 2 operative units, 3 to 6 core units, 0 to 3 special forces units, 0 to 3 support units, and 0 to 2 heavy units. A recon game uses 1 commander, 0 to 1 operatives, 2 to 4 core units, 0 to 2 special forces units, 0 to 2 support units, and 0 to 1 heavy units. The unit type counts can be broken by various battle forces that have their own special rules available online at Atomic Mass Games' website. They're really cool. Those could be things like Tempest Force or Echo-based Defenders or Wookiees, an all-Wookiee army or an all-Ewok army. They really support some super thematic builds that are really fun. Definitely recommend checking those out if you're into those kind of armies. I also recommend just building your list on tabletop-admiral.com to make sure that you're following all of the rules that we talked about above. After building your army, you'll want to select a set of command cards. These cards will give you special abilities that are often specific to the round they are played in, but sometimes offer permanent effects. You'll need to include 1 copy of Standing Orders, which is a 4-pip card, and then include 2 3-pip command cards, 2 2-pips, and 2 1-pips. Some command cards require certain units, subtitles, factions, or battle forces. These restrictions are printed on the command card itself. The required unit must be in a player's army for these command cards to be included in a command hand. If a restriction mentions multiple units, at least one of the named units must be included in a player's army if they are referenced with "or," and all of the characters must be included in a player's army if they are referenced with "and." These cards are secret information and are not shared with your opponent. Once you've played them, they are added to your discard pile, which is then considered public information. Each player will prepare a battle deck. As you get started with the game, you'll have a hard time figuring out what primary objectives, secondary objectives, and advantages that will work best with your army. But you'll have to have 3 of each card type with your list to be ready to play the game. After you've done this, it's time to establish the battlefield and get your pieces and components. You'll need to play on either a 6-foot by 3-foot mat, or just mark off that amount of space on the table with painter's tape, or anything else you can think of. That's for standard size games. If you're playing in a recon game, you can do that for a 3-foot by 3-foot space. In addition to the space, you'll gather any tokens, measuring tools, cards, or any other components you might need to play. We recommend picking up our organizer system that's stackable, modular, and magnetic. It makes setting up and tearing down a breeze and helps streamline your gameplay. You can pick them up at the link in the description at our Etsy shop and use code YouTube22 at checkout for a discount. Next, it's time to declare terrain and place it. For casual games, players can work together to place terrain. We recommend that around 60% of the table be covered in some sort of terrain. For the best experiences, we recommend picking up some 3D printed terrain or hobby up some for yourselves. You can even use cardboard and a hot glue gun to make epic terrain. Check out the tutorial video in the description below on how you can make your own with cardboard. You can also just gather things that you have from around the house to get some of your first games going. In this game, terrain's main intention is to provide cover and line of sight blocking. There are several different types of terrain types that have their own different sets of rules. The first is scatter terrain. It's small terrain such as lampposts, crates, and other small pieces of terrain. It's up to the players to determine whether scatter terrain grants cover or not, and if it's heavy or light cover. We'll come back to the cover idea when we talk about attacks. Next is barricades. Barricades are a subtype of scatter terrain and can be found in various Star Wars Legion product. These are considered open terrain, which means it does not reduce the speed of a unit to move through it. It also grants heavy cover. Obstacle terrain are large features such as buildings, cliffs, or walls. Trooper units may move through or onto obstacle terrain, but will most likely need to perform a climb to do so. Trooper units may not have their bases overhang obstacle terrain. The last is area terrain. Area terrain is often terrain such as forests, craters, ruined buildings, and they are within a boundary. Now, when determining line of sight, area terrain may block line of sight if its silhouette is large enough to do so. In order to determine that, look down on the table and visualize the boundary of the area terrain. Then look horizontal and look across the table and see if it is tall enough to block line of sight to a trooper. If so, then that boundary, the entire boundary, blocks line of sight to troopers that are not inside of it. It does not block line of sight to minis that are overlapping the area terrain. After this, you determine blue player. Both players will roll 4 black dice. The player with the most critical results is the blue player. In a tie, the player with the most hits wins. If there is still a tie, the player with the most surges wins. If there is still a tie, start over and try again. After this, it's time to build the mission. Now that we've determined blue player, we define our primary and secondary ways to score our victory points for the game and get our advantages. The blue player chooses to reveal a random primary objective card or a secondary objective card from their battle deck that they assembled. Whichever one is not selected by the blue player, the red player will reveal a random card from that objective type from their deck. Then, both players reveal an advantage card from their battle deck. The revealed primary and secondary objective are now the current objectives for the game, and each player will get the bonus specified by their advantage card. Starting with the blue player, players take turns modifying the selected primary and secondary objective cards, as well as advantage cards. Each player will have 2 chances to do so. Starting with the blue player, players have the choice to first reveal the top card of their primary objective and replace the current primary objective, or reveal the secondary card of their secondary objective and replace the current secondary objective, or they can reveal the top card of their advantage deck and replace their advantage, or they could make their opponent replace their advantage card with the top of their advantage deck. If you are the red player, you may choose to become blue player. You also have the option to pass, which would be to give up one of your 2 chances to modify the mission. After each player has modified the mission twice, the missions and objectives are now final for your game. Then the blue player chooses one of the long edges of the battlefield as their side, and the red player takes the opposite side. After you've taken your side, follow the setup instructions on the primary objective. Objective tokens may not be placed in a way that causes it to overhang terrain and must be placed flat. Make sure that you follow the setup instructions on the secondary objective after you've done so with the primary objective. Starting with the blue player, each player resolves setup instructions from their advantage card. The last thing is we resolve setup effects. Starting with the blue player, players resolve any abilities and effects that occur during setup, and then they deploy in prepared positions. Starting with the blue player, players alternate placing units that have the prepared position keyword on the battlefield. After we've resolved all our setup steps, we are ready to start the game. There are 5 rounds in a game, or we play until someone reaches 12 points at the end of the end phase. Each round consists of 3 phases: the command phase, the action phase, and the end phase. All right, everybody. Well, we are ready to play now. We've talked through the different, the structure of the round, building your armies, getting ready to play, and now it is time. We are going to be playing a recon game for you. We have built these lists out of what comes in the core set of the Empire, the new core set that's coming out Q3 of 2025 for Empire and for Rebels. And there is a link to the Tabletop Admiral list for both of these armies in the description below. So if you'd like, you can build your army the exact same way and kind of follow along for your first game. So I know we already talked about building the mission, but we're going to show you how to do that with Recon. Recon is a much simpler version. It's much simpler to build the mission for Recon because we're just going to flip one of these cards. So we have all 3 options there. We flipped, that's Bunker Assault. We flipped that, and that's Surface Scan. And then we flipped the Advantage, and that is Advanced Intel. So I looked into the future to see what cards would be coming around, and we have already set up the objectives there. So the first thing that we do after we do that, we will now resolve setup effects, and there is no setup condition for Bunker Assault, so we don't do anything with that. And then this one, there is the setup of placing the POIs on the table,
which we have already done
that. And then now we have to do the setup for our secondary, which is starting with the blue player.
Which is you.
Each player chooses 2 allied units. Each chosen unit gains an allied scanner. So I have selected my 2 units of Stormtroopers. Oh. And then Colton, who did you select?
My 2 Super Squads Rebel Troopers.
Yep, so both of those units. So now the way that we will interact with the game is, the way that we will score points in this game is we have to have more units, we have to secure these points of interest. A point of interest is secured by having more unit leaders at half range of a POI than my opponent. So, if Colton had Luke Skywalker over here at this POI, he has Luke Skywalker in at half range. I have the Scout Troopers and Darth Vader at half range. Because I have 2 units to his 1 unit, I would score a point for that specific objective token at the end of the round. Well, hey there, everyone. I realized as I was filming this video that if you are watching this before the new core sets are available, you might not have POIs yet if you have legacy things. So I wanted to let you know that we have POIs are essential to playing every game of Star Wars Legion. They are your main objective tokens. They are not included in any legacy product. We have those available to you. There are print and play options that you can print on computer paper. But in the meantime, if you want to have physical things, we have half-range tools that don't exist in legacy product. We have POIs for your primary objectives. And we also have this nifty range 1.5 stick. Range 1.5 is a very common measurement for your deployment areas. There are links to these tools in the description below. In addition to that, if I have both of my Empire units, or both of my Stormtrooper units beyond the deployment area, which you see highlighted on your screen now, if I have them beyond that, and then not contesting a POI that is within that, but this primary objective does not have one there, I would score an additional victory point. And then we'll talk here in a minute about the second part of that card about contesting an enemy scanner that would drop. We'll talk about how that would work here momentarily. Without further ado, though, we are going to, now that we have done that, we have done our setup effects of the primary mission. We have done our setup effects of the secondary. Now it is time to deploy in prepared positions. However, none of our units have the prepared position keyword, so we can skip that part, and we are ready to play the game. And we are now moving to the command phase of the first round. Okay, so Colton and I have both secretly selected our command cards. And I went with New Ways to Motivate Them, and Colton went with Return of the Jedi. So the first thing we do is determine who has priority this round. And because my card has 2 pips and Colton's has 3 pips, I have priority. So now the next thing I will do is I will issue orders based off of what this part of the card says. Because it says 2 trooper units, I can select any of the units in my list because all of my units are troopers. I will then take the order token that matches that unit's rank, and I will issue that unit that I want to issue an order to its order token. So I am going to do that to both of my Stormtrooper units. And then the remaining tokens that I have will be randomized, so I can just take those, mix them up, and then create a stack with them. And then now, after I've done that, Colton can issue his orders.
Alrighty. Well, always making sure we check our command ranges, but off the deployment, we are in range of everything. So I'm going to make sure that Lukey gets an order from the card. As you can see on the card, it says Luke Skywalker in 2 units, meaning that I actually don't have a choice in Luke's terminology for who's going to get an order. So I'm going to give mine to Luke, and then both of my core units as well. It says on the card that Luke gets a dodge when issued the order, which he just got issued an order, so he's going to get that at this moment in time. And we're ready to start playing the game.
Sweet.
As you can see as well, sometimes if you don't want to put them in a stack, a lot of people use bags, but as long as you shuffle them up and your opponent's cool with it, it shouldn't matter.
Right. Okay, so now that we've issued orders and we both passed, we have no passes left. Now it is my opportunity to either choose a unit that has a face-up order token, like my Stormtroopers who are in this nice box right here, or I can go off of my stack
take a
and
risk.
take a risk and see a random order token, which is what I'm going to do. And now this is a Special Forces order token. I now have the option to go with any of the 3 Special Forces units that I've included in my list.
Cool.
They are all built differently, but because they're the same rank, I can go to either of them. So I am going to go with my Naked Scout Trooper unit. When we say naked in this game, that means that it has no upgrades.
Nada.
So this is just the base model or the base unit of Scout Troopers, and they have this fun key. Well, before we get there, the very first thing any unit has to do before, while it's off the table, is to move onto the table. So when you activate a unit, it gets 2 actions. It could move, it could aim or dodge, which we'll talk about later. It could attack, which would be a ranged attack or a melee attack. It could stand by, or it could recover. And we'll talk about all those momentarily, but the very first thing it has to do is move. This unit, however, has this fun keyword called Scout 3. Any unit with Scout may perform a speed move equal to the number following the word Scout. So because this unit is Scout 3, I get to do a speed 3 move off of the table, and the best part is it does not count towards my activations. So to move on to the table, I have to have my tool fully touch the edge, one of the edges of my deployment area, and then I can put the unit leader touching any part of this tool afterwards. So we're going to move this tool over here and put the unit leader there. After I have moved my unit leader, I then take this range 0.5 tool, which you may be thinking, that doesn't look like an official product. You're right, it's not. But it will be in the core sets when they are released in Q3 and Q4 of 2025.
Yep.
So we are going to, now we have to place the rest of the miniatures in the unit at range 0.5, or within range 0.5. And when I say within, it just has to touch that tool somehow. And then that is now a legal move.
Now, is that one of your 2 actions, Jared?
That is not one of my 2 actions because, again, because of that Scout keyword. So now I still have 2 actions remaining to do what I want to with. So next, I'm going to move again. Now, once I'm on the table, the tool has to fully touch the miniature, and then I can, the unit leader, it has to fully cup the base, if you will. And then I can move him to touch any part of the tool afterwards. And then I would recohere my minis again. So my miniatures will recohere. And then I want to move one more time because we're going to get really aggressive. This time, I want to move through these crystals. Now, Colton and I, when we were talking about terrain before this game, we said that these crystals were going to be scatter terrain and difficult movement. So, in order to move through these, I am going to have to reduce my speed by 1. Anytime a trooper unit moves through, or really any unit, moves through difficult terrain, they have to reduce their speed by 1 to a minimum of 1. So, because this is a speed 2 unit, we reduce it by 1. It is now speed 1, so I use my speed 1 tool and can move through there to the other side of the crystals.
Nice.
And they will hang out there by the crystals.
Cool, cool.
After they have done all 2 of their actions, I then take their order token that was face up, and I flip it face down and set it next to them to indicate that they have completed their actions for this round. All right, and now that I've done that, it is Colton's turn to activate a unit.
Well, I'm going to live less dangerously than Jared. I have my face-up orders here, so I can choose to go with any of these at any time, and I'm actually just going to go with one of these giant core units. I'm going to make sure I do the same exact thing as Jared in my deployment zone, touching the edge of the battlefield, and now walking onto the table with my unit leader. So I'm going to cohere all of my guys like so. With a super squad as well, you get a cohesion of, instead of that 0.5, you get a range 1. So I'm going to make use of that. I'm actually going to throw some guys all the way over here with that wonderful concept. I also have a keyword on those Rebel Troopers called Agile 1. So as they move onto the table, every time they complete a movement action, I get a free dodge as a part of that movement action. So I would like to shoot Jared. He's come a little too close for comfort, and I am going to now gather my range sticks. These range sticks are going to determine how far I can shoot and if I have range on my target. You will check every single unit and it will have the range indicated as you're seeing now. I only measure range from my unit leader. Legion's such a great game because most of your measurements and everything in between start and end with your unit leader. So this is my unit leader for this unit. I'm going to check my range, and I do not have range 2, meaning that my shotgun is actually going to be out of range. But that's okay, he's got a blaster as well. So I've got a total of 10 guys that are going to shoot 10 dice at Jared's unit.
Yeah.
The first thing we need to do, though, is when shooting a unit, is check for cover. Now, Jared's unit has 50% or more of his models behind those crystals. With this being said, that means that Jared is going to get the benefit of light cover, as we have described it earlier. Jared also has low profile on these scout troopers, meaning that he's going to get a free block on one of his dice before he even has to roll. I don't have sharpshooter or anything like that, so we're just throwing some dice at these guys in light cover.
And it's important to note that when you take a heavy weapon as an upgrade, most of the time it can shoot the gun that is on the unit card.
Yes.
So as Colton said, that my scout troopers are beyond range 2, which means that he can't use that shotgun.
Gotta use a different
but he can use the single black dice gun that is on the base unit.
When measuring for cover as well, when we're checking that 50%, we check from my unit leader to his unit. And as we can see here, looking from this unit into the scout troopers, that's 1, 2, and 3 bases that are obscured by that terrain. For instance, his unit leader does not count for terms of the crystal cover. But with that being said, now we're going to take a shot into those scout troopers. So during the gather dice steps, I'm going to check my card and make sure that I have the appropriate amount of dice. And on the rebel troopers, as you can see, just like Jared was talking about, each guy has 1 black dice at range 1 to 3 to shoot. And I'm going to have to use that instead of my shotgun. I have 10 dudes, so it's pretty straightforward. 10 dice, shooting into the scouts. Alrighty. So you'll see a couple different symbols here, but this is perfect to show you guys. We've got hits, crits, and surges. Surges only matter if your unit has keywords on the weapon or the unit card itself to convert this. Rebel troopers, not that elite. So this is actually a fail as well. So crit goes past cover automatically. You don't roll for it at all. So he actually has 2 hits, and Jared, your low profile will kick in.
Yeah, so now we are at the check cover step of the attack. So because, as Colton said, the scout troopers have low profile. If they did not have low profile at this point, I would roll 1 white defense dice for each hit result.
Yep.
And then if it is heavy cover, blocks and surges would take away those hits. If it was light cover, only blocks take away those hits. And we are not, to be clear, we are not at the defense roll step yet. We're just seeing
checking
if those crystals are going to block anything for me.
Yep.
Now, because of low profile, I
block.
automatically get 1.
Nice.
And then now I will roll this one, and we will see if I get it, but I don't. It's a blank. Which means, so now that one will cancel out that one. I have nothing to cancel out that one.
So now we're on your what save?
Now we are on my actual roll defense dice step.
And what do those scout troopers roll?
Those scout troopers roll a white defense dice, which you can see here on this card. And then because Colton, now I have to gather them really quickly because Colton had that crit as well.
Yep.
I now have to gather 2 defense dice, and now I am rolling them. And I completely fail that save. And because the wound threshold on this unit is 1, that means I lose a miniature for each wound that I take.
2 wounds it is.
So now we have this concept of suppression. Just like in real life, hopefully you haven't been shot at in real life, but just like in real life, if you were being shot at, you would duck, you would get a little bit scared.
It's a little stressful.
It would be a little stressful, and you would be suppressed, one might say. Well, suppression is a thing in Star Wars Legion. Every time that you are targeted by a ranged attack, and there is a hit, even if it goes to cover or you fully block it or whatever, you take a suppression token. That will come into importance later on as we go.
Or marked
But-
by yellow token.
With that being said,
back
it
to
is
you.
back to me now. I have the choice to, again, go to the stack or go to the units in my box. And I am going to go to the units in my box. Now, if you remember, I played a fun command card at the beginning of this round called New Ways to Motivate Them.
Ooh, command
And
card.
for this round, when an allied non-Darth Vader trooper unit that has a face-up order token starts its activation, it may suffer 1 wound. If it does, it may make 1 additional action during that activation.
Classic Vader.
So, these stormtroopers are now highly motivated, and by motivated, they are scared for their lives because they don't want Darth Vader to.
Well, good thing there's plenty of them.
So the stormtroopers are going to move onto the table, and then we are definitely not at range 3 yet, but they are going to move up again to there, and then we are going to now check range because I'll be really sad, and because I suffered a wound, or I'm going to suffer a wound to take an additional action, and now we're going to say that's at range 3 there. There we yeah, and now because I have moved on to the tape. I have moved on the table. I moved again for my second action. Now I'm going to suffer a wound, which removed 1 of my stormtroopers. And now I am going to attack back at the rebel troopers. So this one rolls a lot of dice. My heavy weapon is a T-21. It rolls 4 white dice at range 3.
Oh,
And it's got critical too, I believe.
yes it does.
So here we go. Here's our attack.
Nice.
That's pretty good. So we'll get our blanks out of here so we can see what we're working with. Don't worry about these oddly colored dice. They are white dice. They were a promotional thing that happened that I got at the World Championships this year.
Cool. Your critical 2 should kick in there, shouldn't it?
Yes. So now, because of critical, normally you can see on the Stormtrooper unit card that normally these would convert to hits. However, because of the keyword on my T-21, those will convert to crits. So I have 4 crits, 2 hits.
Nice.
What happens next, Colton?
Well, we're checking for cover, and I do believe that drawing a line from your Stormtrooper to my Rebels, we have a question of cover. And as you can see here, I have to check 0.5 from this piece of terrain to see if all of my units are in range to get cover.
Yes.
Now, mind you, I have 10, so that means I need 5 at least to be in range of the same piece or 2 separate pieces of heavy cover to have that qualification or light in the same way. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like I actually don't have heavy cover at all because I only have 4 units in range of that piece of
4
terrain.
miniatures.
4 miniatures.
Yes.
Okay. Now, with that being said, I have to go to my cover step, which does not exist. Then, after you roll for cover, you would apply your dodges and stuff. So always make sure you roll for cover first, then use your defensive tokens like dodges after. So I will dodge one of these, and Rebel Troopers actually have another cool keyword called Nimble, which means they're going to get this dodge right back. If you spend a dodge or more, you will always get 1 back. So that means I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 saves. So I'm going to grab 5 white dice to roll for my defensive. And this is a good example because I have blank 3. Now these are defensive surges on the defense dice, just like there is surges on the offensive dice. And if you check the Rebel Trooper card, we actually do surge to defend. So I'm going to end up blocking 2 of these hits, and then I will be taking 3 wounds. I will also remind myself to make sure I get a suppression as well, as I am not exempt from the fear of blaster fire.
Even though that they have a lot of hope.
They do have a lot of hope. And speaking of hope, I think it's time to go in the bag and continue the Rebel fight for justice. I pulled a Special Forces. I'm going to go with my Sniper team. My Sniper team also has Scout, but my Scout value is only 2. So I'm not going to get to do a full maneuver like Jared on his troopers. So always make sure you check that numerical value. So I'm going to Scout 2 for free with my Strike team. Now, my Strike team has a range 3 attack, but my Sniper rifle is range 5. So I'm going to hang back a little bit, and I am going to shoot into these stormtroopers. But before I do, I'm going to scout, aim, then shoot. Because a reminder that scout is a free action. So now we're going to show you what an aim does. So I'm going to take the aim token, and I'm going to then put it next to my unit to indicate to Jared that I have taken the action, and just in case anything else happens. Now, Jared, when we're checking cover, my sniper is actually the unit leader in the strike team, which it says on the card. This is a unique instance, but we still measure everything from the unit leader. So I'm going to check for my sniper, and I'm going to see that his stormtroopers pretty easily have heavy cover. But the cool thing about being an elite strike team and a sniper is I have sharpshooter 1, which is going to take his heavy cover down to light cover. So now we're going to go to the attack step. Jared doesn't have any defensive tokens or anything as such. So I'm going to shoot into Jared with my 2 shots, and I blanked one of my dice. But the good thing here is with an aim token, I can re-roll up to 2 dice of my choice to retry and get a better shot off. A failure either way, but Jared now has 1 light cover save. Doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
And so now we go to the other keyword on the sniper, which is called Pierce. Pierce is an automatic defeat of any unit that does not have immune Pierce. So even though Jared has red defense dice, very good defensive dice, it's going to go right through to represent that high impact shot. So regardless of what he rolls, it is out of commission. 1 stormtrooper down and another suppression on that unit.
Yep, so if I rolled this block, Pierce would cancel that. Let's say that he happened to get 2 hits through. If I rolled both blocks, he would pierce the 1, and I would still take 1 wound. But regardless, he rolled 1, and then I take 1 wound.
Nice.
So I will remove a miniature because their wound threshold is 1, and then they will take a suppression. Okay, now it is back to me, and I will go to the stack. I pulled Vader, which is normally not a good, which is not a good pull if we were playing a real game. So Vader doesn't really have a lot of options. So he is, and he's also really slow. So he's only speed 1. So Vader is going to move and move, and we're actually going to move back behind this area to actually. Let's go this way with that move. So we're going to go here and there. Now, you might be thinking, wow, that looks like he's way out in the open. I'm going to flip his token down, and you're kind of right. Now, this piece of terrain we ruled as area terrain, and if you remember, area terrain is line of sight blocking as tall as its silhouette is. So in order to determine that, I'm going to look from this, look down, see the area of this terrain, see essentially the shape of it, and then now this shape is going to be as tall as its highest point. So then I'm going to come down at the side view, like you're seeing on my camera right now, and so now for the entire base of that, it is going to be line of sight blocking for as tall as that rock on the left. Now, with area terrain, if all of the line of sight blocking goes away if a miniature is inside of it. So if Darth Vader was to move inside of it, he would then be eligible to be shot or targeted by other effects that require line of sight.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, is that the end of your activation?
That is it. All he's doing.
All right. Well, I am going to go with Luke Skywalker. I want to get him on the table early, make sure my courage is up and about for my units, and I'm going to move him onto the table. And then I have this big piece of terrain in my way. So the first action is move on the table, as always, because I don't have a choice. And second action is I can jump over this piece of terrain with jump 1 because it is under that height 1 maneuver. And I'm going to send Luke right on up here because I have the high ground. I'm going to make sure I bring his token face down and his dodge from his card with him.
One of the cool things about Legion is you can kind of, because I know that I have 2 special forces and 1 core unit left, my core unit has the face-up order. So that tells me by process of elimination that both of these tokens in my stack are special forces. So now I really have control of what I want to do. And I think the first thing that I want to do is get really aggressive and go after that Luke Skywalker fella. with these stormtroopers. So first things first, just like always, they have to move onto the table. And we can measure. The nice thing about this game is we can measure at any time. So I can see that Luke is just outside of range of my stormtroopers. So I'm going to move them again to there, and then all of his friends are going to come with him. But guess what? They have a face-up order as well. So they are going to take a wound, which means instead of 10 guys, there are just going to be 9 of them. And they are going to move up, and they are going to throw 13 white dice into Luke Skywalker. We'll see what happens. So we'll get rid of all of these. And because of the critical keyword on my heavy, that will be 4 crits, nice. 1 hit.
All right, so I'm going to roll for my cover first. I've only got 1 cover save, and it stays. Now the cool thing is I have a dodge in this case, so I'm going to use that dodge to get rid of the 1 hit. Now, all of my keywords I need to check for defense as well, and I have a keyword called block. And since I used the dodge token, I'm actually going to now surge to defend on my defense dice.
Yep, Luke normally does not, as you see on his card, normally does not surge to block, but because he spent that dodge, he now will surge to block.
Yes, so any paint is good to go here. And an average roll of 2 to 2. So Luke will take 2 wounds, and his wound threshold is actually 6. So he is going to indicate that by putting 2 wound tokens next to the miniature and not forgetting to add our suppression as well. We go with these core units now. I see Vader over here, and objectives are such an important part of the game that I gotta make sure that I keep both sides of my table good to go. Now I've got a lot of crystals. I've kind of got myself a little crash course over here, but a cool thing about terrain like this is as long as my movement tool does not overlap that terrain, I do not have to reduce my speed of said unit. So with that being said, I'm going to bob and weave, if you will, using the prongs of my tool to lay down and show that I can walk right through these crystals, doing 2 move actions at full speed to take me up the board, ready to go. Once again, using our range 1 to just cohere guys as we want. Now that agile keyword, you will notice, does not have a numerical value, so I'm actually going to get 2 dodges here for moving up twice, bringing my token with me as well. My objective token, that is. So 2 dodges, objective token, and rebel troopers have moved up. Grabbing my order token, putting it face down next to the unit, and it's back to you.
Okay, I'm going to go to my stack. I pulled a special forces unit, which is all I had left, and we're going to start doing some fun stuff. So we see those rebel troopers over there. We are going to scout onto the table because of our scout 3 keyword. We're going to move to there. Or wait, I got to use my
unit leader.
Heavy weapon is my unit leader. For these strike teams. He's going to move onto the table, and he is going to take an aim action just like Colton Sniper did. So we'll gain our aim token, and then we are going to shoot at those rebel troopers. So we have 2 black dice coming in on the rebel troopers, and we got 2 hits, so we don't even need to spend our aim token.
Well, I believe you have Sharpshooter 1, and
yes, so,
as we've checked cover already, they only have light.
Yes, so only light cover is going to be coming from this.
Now, doesn't your sniper have a unique keyword that affects my dodges?
It does. So because of the keyword high velocity that is built into the heavy weapon on my strike team, on my sniper, he is unable to spend dodges because I have no other weapons in the dice pool. So, no dodges for him. He's just going to have to roll 2.
No dodges, just 2 on the nice rebel cloth. Oh, I did make a block, but I believe you have Pierce on yours as well.
I have Pierce 1, so that block gets pierced.
Boom.
And now they take 2 wounds.
2 wounds and another suppression for our boys. Dying for the rebellion. Alrighty, I'm going back to the bag, and I am going to pull out a Special Forces, because it's all I have left. And I am going to just go ahead and we'll do us another shot with these Rebel Commandos. So the first thing they get to do is a free Scout 2 onto the table. And then I'm going to actually, for first action, move them up again, and then I am going to cohere my gentleman like so, checking my 0.5 cohesion and on the objective. With that being said, for my third action, I would like to attack these scout troopers, and I do not get to use my proton bomb. Big boom, but that's okay. Once again, we're going to skip out on the heavy weapon and just use the generic dice from the regular guys. So we have 5 black dice with Sharpshooter 1 once again coming into play here with the scout troopers. So I've only got 2 hits here, even though it's light cover. Oh, even though it's no cover now because of crystals. You would think that, but in this case, Jared actually has 50% of his models in between me and this barricade. So heavy's only going to get reduced down to light, but a prime time example of why you always check cover, even if you think you already know what it is, because as models are removed, you can see things changing. So Jared is going to get an automatic block with 1 from low profile, and then he gets to make a save.
So this is our cover save, and I don't get it.
But we have an armor save coming up
So
next.
now our actual save, nothing. So I take a wound, lose this guy back here,
And another suppression.
and another suppression.
And it's back to you.
Yep. Okay. I just have a Special Forces Saboteur unit. So they are going to scout onto the table on this side. And then they are going to do their standard speed 2 move. And I do believe that's going to put us into range of some rebel troopers over there. They are
Absolutely.
range 2. And these guys are fun because they roll 2 black each. Now, my heavy weapon is range 1, but because I'm not at range 1, he can just shoot the base gun. So they will scout onto the table for free. They will move for their first action, and their second action will be an attack. They do not convert surges, so this one will go away. This goes away, and that goes away, leaving 6 hits and 1 crit for the rebel troopers. Now, because suppression does a couple things. Suppression once you have suppression tokens equal to your courage value, which is the yellow number on this card that you see, you improve your cover by 1. So because they have light cover, the suppression adds additional cover to them, capping at heavy cover, cover 2.
Yep.
And so now they have cover 2. However, my scout troopers have sharpshooter 1,
Back
which
down to
reduces it back down to light covers.
Yes, so light cover, but I've got 6 light covers saves to make today, and that is 6 here. I make 2
Yep.
light cover saves.
So that's going to remove 2 of my hits.
And then I'm going to go to the apply dodges step, and I'm going to go ahead and dodge 2 more of those.
Yep, so he spends 2 dodge tokens. These go away.
Now both dodges are going to get removed, but with Nimble I get 1 back that will stay and stick around.
Yep.
So now I have 3 saves on my Rebel Defense dice, and I have blanked out and lost 3 gentlemen this evening. And I will add a second suppression. 1, 2, 3. Alrighty, I'm going to go into my bag for my last unit, and it is going to be the Wookiees. The Wookiees are going to politely say, and they are going to move onto the table. They actually have the scale keyword, which is going to allow them to ignore the effects of difficult terrain as well as climb at a height of 2 throughout the game. So I'm just going to be aggressive with them and move them up twice. You can notice on their card as well that they have the Battle Shield card that you may flip at the beginning of their activation. I'm opting not to get that full speed on my Wookiees, keeping them at an extra 2 red dice. And that will be the end of their activation.
Yep, so we are now at the end of the activation phase, and we are now moving to the end phase. Now the first thing, if this were a scoring round, we don't score any of these objectives in the first round, so we get to skip that part, and then we will move on to the cleanup portion. So first thing is we remove all green tokens. So I will remove my aim that I did not use on my scout sniper team, and then Colton will remove.
So normally I would have to remove my dodges as well, but Luke has this cool upgrade today called Vigilance. And with Vigilance, I'm going to get to pick 2 core units at range 1 to 2 to keep their dodges, or any unit of 1 rank to do the same. Unfortunately, Jared's killed enough of my troopers that I'm out of range of this core unit, but this trooper is good to go. So they will actually keep this dodge, but I will have to remove this one.
Okay. And then now we remove 1 suppression token from every unit that has suppression. So my scout unit here that got shot at twice has 2 suppression. I will remove 1. And then my stormtrooper unit that got shot at once, I will remove that one. Nothing got shot at over here, so they have nothing to remove.
Cool, cool.
And then after that, we'll gather our order tokens. And we will circle back to the command phase. You're already learning how to play.
Back again.
You know how it goes. We're going to secretly select our new cards. And we're both... Okay, so we have both played... so we've both chosen our command cards. And the first thing we have to do is determine priority. But we tied. Now one of us has to roll a defense dice. Doesn't matter who rolls it, but whoever rolls it, if it is a block result, I will roll it. And if it's a block, I get to go first. If it's a blank or a surge, Colton gets to go first. Oof. And the person who rolls it always gets blocks. So we roll it. It is me.
Nice.
So that means that I will get to issue orders first. And you can see here that my card just says Darth Vader, which means I have to go to Darth Vader. So I will find the commander order token. I'll place it face up to Darth Vader. I'll flip the other ones over, mix them up, and then make a stack. And then now, after I've done that, I resolve any other effects that the card says. But mine does not happen immediately. It says at the start of each Darth Vader's activation this round, he gains a dodge. And at the end of Darth Vader's first activation this round, he may suffer a wound. And if he does, shuffle his order token into the order pool. During Darth Vader's second activation this round, he makes 1 fewer activations.
Cool, cool. Well, mine's the same way. I can only give it to Luke. He doesn't have any special effects till later when it kicks off, but that is Luke's 1 order. It has to go to him because it also just says Luke Skywalker. So you've won priority, Jared. How are you going to kick us off?
Yep, so I'm going to go to the bag, or to my stack. I'm going to go to my stack because I don't want to leave Darth Vader out there early to get shot at. So I'm going to go to my stack. I flipped it over, and it is a core unit. So I'm going to go with my giant 9-man stormtrooper unit. They are going to take a move action. And they are going to shoot into your rebel troopers over here. Yep.
All right,
we'll shoot those rebel troopers in the back because they have a shotgun and are scary.
Main guys.
So we'll throw this at them. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. That many misses. And then we have critical 2.
Nice.
So this is going to turn into a crit. This is going to turn into a crit. And then we've got 3 hits. 3 crits. They have heavy cover.
It does look like they have heavy cover now that more have died. So
he's got 3 cover saves for the hits.
Take 2 off.
And because of heavy, he gets surges and blocks.
Yep, just like so. And then I will dodge 1 more normal hit and nimble get it back. And then I have 3 on my cloth to save me from blaster fire. For the rebellion! The rebellion has left me. 3 men are gone. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. It's back to me, and I see a prime time opportunity to show you what the Son of Skywalker is all about. So I'm going to have to get down from this piece of terrain, but thankfully I have the jump keyword to let me come down at a full speed 2. So that is my first action, and Luke has this really cool keyword called charge, which means after he moves into melee contact with a unit, just for free, he gets to swing, helping these units get into melee. Now I'm going to come over on this side so I can also be contesting this objective.
Yep.
Objectives are the same way with unit leaders in checking that your unit leader is in 0.5 to secure. So hopefully this works out for me as I go about. But I'm now going to get to attack with my melee profile.
Yep.
All melee attacks have to be base to base contact, meaning that Luke has to be touching one of these stormtroopers. Now, before we do anything else, Jared, you have to initiate the combat by cohering them into melee.
Yes, so anytime troopers get engaged, you have to snap as many into base contact as possible. Now, the other thing that has to happen is the unit leader has to. So because this unit leader is not currently engaged, I have to snap him in.
Nice.
So I will snap him in there, and then I just have to snap in as many as I possibly can, and then everybody else can stay where they're at after that.
Okay, so I'm going to gather Luke's attack pool, which is 2 red and 3 black, but you'll notice I have another upgrade called Tenacity. And Tenacity is as long as I have a wound on a character or a model, I actually get to add another red dice. So I'm throwing 3 red, 3 black into your stormtroopers. This lightsaber has impact 2, Pierce 1. Pierce 1's all that's relevant for now, but he also surges to crit. The other thing I'm going to show you is that my card is now going to come into effect. After I make my first attack this round, after I'm done with it, I get a free attack action. Absolutely crazy swing from Luke coming into these stormtroopers. So for my first roll, I blank 2. I don't have an aim or anything, but this is a good example of surging to crit. I find my surge value, it turns over to a crit. And now Jared is looking at 4 pierce.
There's no cover or anything in a melee. I don't have any dodges, so I just have to roll 4 dice. And as you see on their card, the stormtroopers do not surge to block, so that goes away. Luke is Pierce 1, so it will cancel one of my blocks, and that kills 3 stormtroopers.
And I'm just going to go straight into the second attack for free from his card to do maximum amount of damage that I can. And a great roll with 6 more on the way. Pierce 1. Nice.
And an even better defense roll. So I block 5 of 6. He pierces 1, which means I lose 2.
And then that is the end of Luke's action.
Okay, so I am going to activate this one guy right here. He has a suppression token. Now, if I activate a unit that has suppression, you roll white dice equal to the number of suppression tokens. I missed it, but let's say that I rolled a paint, a surge, or a block. I could remove the number of suppression tokens equal to the number of blocks and surges that I rolled. But because I missed, I don't get to remove that. After this step, I see how many suppression tokens I currently have, which is 1. And I compare it to this yellow number on my unit card, which is 2.
Nice.
Now, because my suppression token is less than the courage value, I am not affected. Let's say that I had 2 suppression tokens on this unit after this step, then I would have 1 less action. If I had 2 times that number, which would be 4, and I'm not at range of my commander, which I am not, because then I would panic, which means I would get no actions whatsoever. Now, why am I measuring how far I am from my commander? Your commander also has this influence on the game where he grants his courage level to other units. In order to do that, they have to be at range 3. But because that unit is not at range 3, he does not get that courage from Darth Vader, which is actually infinite, which is really cool. Now, you can only use your commander's courage value when you're checking for panic, not for being suppressed. So this unit in particular would be suppressed, meaning 1 less action at 2 courage. But because I am outside of range of Vader, let's say that I was at range of Vader, I could not be panicked then at that point because Vader's courage is yes, but he could still be suppressed because Vader's courage is infinite. So
good thing he's courage 2.
I'm courage 2 though, so I get all of my actions, and I think that my action is going to actually move into Luke Skywalker. I'll have to double move because that's through difficult terrain, but there's in Star Wars Legion, when you are engaged in melee, you cannot be shot at. Now, normally a scout trooper would not want to go fisticuffs with Luke Skywalker, but that guy is just trying to make it to the next day in the battle. So he's just going to double move into contact with Luke Skywalker.
Absolutely. All right. Back to me. I've pulled a core unit. I am going to elect to go with this squad, and I also have a suppression roll to make. Now, the cool thing about the doubled up squads and adding the units is it gives them a keyword called Indomitable. And Indomitable just means instead of rolling that white dice for removing suppression at the beginning of my activation, I'm actually going to use a red dice. And the same rules apply. Any paint takes off a suppression. And I have successfully done it, so I will walk over, I will remove that one suppression, and thankfully I will get both of my actions with the Rebel Troopers. I see some Scout Troopers in front of me, and I am going to move up, touching the terrain, and moving my guys behind me, like so, to shoot into these Scout Troopers. Now, this is a good example as well, is from my unit leader, 2 models have cover from the POI, but a third one has cover from a different source of terrain, meaning that he's still eligible for that heavy cover situation. So Jared's going to get heavy cover and low profile, making it extra hard for me to get through on his Scout Troopers. And I won't forget my dodge for moving. So I need to check my dice pool, but something cool here is I am now at range 2 for the shotgun to step into play and shoot into these Scout Troopers. I only have 1 heavy weapon of the shotgun, so that's going to be 2 red, 2 white for the shotgun, and then I have 4 normal guys left. So this is going into the Scout Troopers. Not a bad roll at all. Once again, the Rebel Troopers don't have any surge values or keywords to help them with that, so it comes out. And there's 5 coming your way, Jared, and you get 1 auto block for low
because
profile.
of my low profile, 1 goes in there, and then I roll 4. Nice. And and that was just my cover roll. So that means 2 of those go away, and that one goes away as well. Now I'm rolling 2, and I block both, so they are just fine. They will take a suppression, live to fight another day. That is bad news for those rebels because they are about to see a world of hurt potentially. We're going to go to the stack. I do pull a core this time, though, so I won't get to go with them just yet. And I've got an idea for Luke Skywalker here. We really don't like this guy.
Yeah, he's not cool.
We're going to move, because we have this 1 spot open right here, I can move my unit leader into base contact, and now the entire unit is actually eligible to punch, even though my unit leader is the only one engaged with Luke here. Now, I can't use my ranged weapons in melee, which means now I actually just roll 9 dice instead of the 13, was it, that I was rolling in melee or in a ranged attack. So we're just going to move and we're going to punch Luke. And we got 3 in the Luke.
But your unit surges to hit.
Yes, so that will surge to hit, and that will give us 3. Now Luke has one more thing that he hasn't used
My
yet.
last upgrade is prepared supplies, and I'm going to use it because I think Luke's got too many wounds as is, and it's just a dodge that I can use at any time. The reason I'm going to do this is I'm going to dodge one of those hits to reduce the number of dice, but once again that block keyword is going to come into play here and give me surge to defend on my melee roll as well. And thus I take 1 and 1, and I'm going to not take a suppression but instead another wound, and Luke will be up to 3. That prepared supplies dodge is gone, and it is back to me. I'm going to go in my bag here, and I have pulled a Special Forces. So, going with the Wookiees, and I once again can choose if I would like to use Battle Shield or the Defensive Shield. Once again, I'm just go, go, go mode. We are going to use that scale keyword to just go right by this difficult terrain and zoom up the board. And then I'm going to check if I can charge for my second action, and it looks like that is more than possible to happen. Wookiees also have that charge keyword built into their kit, just like Luke Skywalker. So with one good, we're going to come right on up here, and we're going to show Jared a whole lot of fur.
No!
So don't move the Wookiees into the Scout Troopers. Jared is now going to, after I first cohere every single model that I can into base contact with his units, then he will do the same thing as he's showing you right here. So when you have multiple models and you are the one engaging in melee, you first have to cohere, keeping cohesion with your unit leader and getting as many in as possible. Now, when I'm going to my form the attack dice step, I do not have tenacity this time because I have not taken a wound. But you will notice on my shield this red symbol that dictates melee. So this heavy weapon actually is for melee purposes, meaning that I'm going to add 2 red dice and then the classic attack from the rest of the Wookiees, which is 2 black dice. Once again, charge lets me do a free attack after moving into them. So I have 3 normal guys for 6 black and 2 red from the battle shield. No special tokens or anything, but going into the Scout Troopers. Now, I do check the card, and they do surge to hit, so my 1 surge will go up to a hit. Once again, no cover. Low profile is only for cover and ranged attacks, meaning that Jared has a full 7 coming his way.
Oh man, those Scout Troopers are just taking it. Man, they are. If you're new to this game, that roll is crazy.
That's normal.
The fact that they're still alive is bonkers right now. So yeah, that's crazy. Well, they're somewhat safe because Rebel Troopers aren't the scariest threats in melee. So we only have Special Forces left in our stack. We're actually going to go with our Scout Sniper team, and they are just going to aim and shoot into these Rebel Troopers. Now, I do have these Rebel Troopers at range 2. So this time I can include the 2 black from my other guy who is in the unit. However, I think that would actually be the wrong choice because then I guess, you know what? We're going to do it.
More dice.
Yeah, we're going to roll more dice. That, unfortunately, though, will turn off my high velocity keyword because in order for high velocity to work, you have to have, that has to be, all the weapons have to have high velocity, but the base gun does not. So we are going to aim and shoot into those Rebel Troopers with 4 dice. They don't surge, so that's bad news. We're going to reroll those. Just 1. So you get, so they have
no cover.
No, oh yeah, light cover down to nothing. So
one
they
pitch one?
will spend. No, well, you have your dodge.
Oh, thanks, Jared, for showing us why sometimes you don't spend the dice.
Yep, you have your dodge.
Spend it,
so they don't
keep
even
it.
have to roll it.
Suppression. Alrighty, back to me in the bag. It's a core unit. Going with my Rebel Troopers is what I've pulled next. Going here, gonna have to make another Indomitable rally roll because this is also a super squad. I have failed my suppression roll that was not staged. And that means looking at the courage value, it is 1. And since the suppression value on the table and the value on the unit card equals the same, that means I'm going to be at 1 less action. So I'm only going to get 1 action, and because I want to score some points this round, I'm just going to move these guys up like so. They'll get a second dodge from Agile, and it will be back to Jared.
Okay, I am going to go to my stack, which is these Scout Troopers. They have 1 suppression, so I do need to rally with them. They roll it off because they're rolling everything off. And then they are just going to aim and punch these Wookiees. Now, in melee, you can see that each of them only has 1 dice. However, for some strange reason, they can blow up a bomb in melee
They sure can.
with their Sonic Charge Saboteur. So, my 2 non-heavy weapon guys will roll 1 black each, but then my heavy weapon guy will roll 2 black, 1 white, and 1 red all by himself. Jeez. So, this will be a 6 dice attack into these Wookiees. So, I only get a hit and a crit, and yeah, so we'll see what that does.
On my Wookiees, rolling 2 dice. I fail both, and I'm going to check the wound threshold of my Wookiees, which is actually 3 per model. So yes, they're all multi-wound models and multi-model units, meaning that I'm going to pick one of these models, which is not going to be my shield because that would be silly, and I'm going to put 2 on this gentleman right here.
That's
meaning
right.
He will be the next to die.
He has to, yes, he has to be the one who
has to be the
receives
next.
wounds going forward.
Cannot just pick and choose who gets what.
Right.
So next in my bag, I will continue onward, and I have
However,
found-
there is one thing we need to do. Normally, in a melee, that they would not take a suppression. However, the Sonic Charge Saboteur has the keyword of suppressive, meaning after you attack with this, a unit would take an additional suppression token, which is just 1 in this instance.
Yes.
And then I will flip their token down, and they rolled that suppression off, so that comes off the table.
Nice. Okay, going in the bag, I have pulled a Special Forces. And man, I'd really like to shoot Vader, but unfortunately he's behind this giant line of blocking terrain, so I'm going to skip out on that, and I'm going to elect to go with these bad boy commandos, who are just going to move up twice to get ready for the next turn. And it will be back to Jared.
Okay, now it is time to do all the fun things from the card that I played earlier this round. Now, it looks like I am going to have to spend 2 movements. So Vader has this fun keyword, or fun upgrade attached to him called Burst of Speed, which allows him to go really fast. So
off the wrist.
it's going to be too short to get there in 1 move. So we're going to have to double move, and we're actually going to just go 1 move, 2 moves, and then he has a keyword called Relentless, meaning after he makes a move action, he can attack for free. So we double moved. Now we get our free attack into these Wookiees, and we're just going to throw 6 red dice at them. So we've got 5 into those Wookiees.
All right, 5 it is. Looks
And-
like I don't make any saves anyways, not that Pierce
Yep,
3
not that it would
let me.
matter. So Vader has Pierce 3, which means even if he blocked 3, I would cancel all of those.
So I have taken 5 wounds. My first wound, once again, must go onto the Wookiee that I had chosen. That is my first of 5, and then I have 4 more, which is going to equal another dead Wookiee for 3, and then I will have 1 wound remaining. You must always choose your unit leader last as the thing to receive wounds, meaning that my battle shield, even though its dice are better, has to get the next wound.
Yep, and then after that, you notice that I have some miniatures that that are currently engaged with that unit that are not touching. So now I have to, as the defender, re-snap my miniatures into melee. Now, the cool thing on Vader's card this round is that he can take a wound. And his order token goes back into my stack, which is the only one that I have. And I believe Colton has already finished.
Got 1 more.
Okay, so so it's back to Colton now.
Got 1 unit. I am going to try something risky here, and I'm going to go with the scout team. I know Vader's violent. He can't control his impulses, so I am going to maneuver this strike team up like so. And then for my second action, I'm going to take one of our final words we have not talked about, which is a standby. So my commandos have moved up. I've taken a standby for my second action, which is going to allow me to react to anything that happens at range 2 of my unit, and I have line of sight too. So if Vader gets any violent tendencies, he attacks, dodges, moves, does anything, I'll be able to react. The way to counter a standby is if you receive a suppression token, you actually remove it before you get to react to it, meaning that suppression is always a good move to keep that standby subtle. But now I have a response for when Vader goes, and some responses I can do to either shoot or move as a response.
Yep.
I can only shoot Vader if he is the one to trigger that standby. I cannot just pick whoever I want. Back to you.
Yep, and you'll be able to move regardless if you would like to. So now with Vader, I want to show you an upgrade called Force Choke that I brought. I can just choose a unit and assign it a trooper unit that is not a commander or an operative at range 1 a wound. So I am going to choke this unit here. They will lose a miniature, and then I am going to swing into these Wookiees. And that is 5 wounds. That's going to be pretty tough to overcome. Ooh. And they don't surge. They're dead. They go away. But that's unfortunate now because I am no longer engaged and there is a standby, unit with a standby at range 2 of Darth Vader. So Colton, what are you going to do with that standby?
Well, I think I'm a little angry that he killed my Wookiee, so I'm going to have to shoot Vader. Now, I have a couple choices here. I could throw in my extra black dice from my unit, but I want to use that high velocity keyword to turn off your deflect.
Yep.
So unlike Luke, Vader always has deflect that on any ranged attacks, he surges to block. And if you roll 1 or more surges on your defense roll, your opponent takes a wound to represent that deflect back at them. However, if I use high velocity, I can turn off his surge to defend and not get shot. So checking for my unit leader, which once again is a sniper, Vader has no cover, so we're going to use this standby to react to Vader swinging into my Wookiees and throw a black and a white at him and try to do some wounds on him. Good
That's
thing
a great...
I do surge, so that is 2 hits coming your way, sir.
So now I'm going to roll 2. And unfortunately, I normally would have rolled this surge, and that would do a wound back to you because of the keyword deflect. But because high velocity turns off the deflect, that surge actually turns to a blank, and I take another wound on Vader.
But you
I don't assign him
suppression.
suppression because he is immune to suppression because of his
Dark Lord of the Sith.
infinite courage.
What do you expect?
Yep.
Alrighty.
So now we have completed this round, and the first thing we have to do is score.
Ooh.
So we will start with the primary objective, and each of us score 1 point for securing a primary objective. There are some additional ways to score points that we won't dive into in this video. You can read the primary and secondary objectives for yourself and follow those rules accordingly. But we'll look one at a time. So starting here, I have 2 units at half range, and he has none. So I will score 1 point there. Over here, I have 3 units, just barely, because my Scout Trooper does count towards that. So I have my Scout Trooper unit and both my Stormtrooper units at half range, and it just has to be my leader. Luke is at half range, and these Rebel Commandos are at half range, but that only gives Colton 2 units. So I will also score a point here. Colton has a unit here, I have none. Colton has a unit here, I have none. So at this point in the game, just on primaries, it's 2-2. We also have the secondary, which says that our units that have the scanners have to be outside of deployment range and or deployment area, friendly territory, that's the word I'm looking for, and have their scanners. We both have that as well. Colton's units are here. Mine are both here.
Yep.
So we will both score an additional point for the secondary, making it 3-3. Now, we would keep this process going until the end of 5 rounds or the first one to reach 12.
Yep.
And then that would be the end of the game. One thing that I want to mention is that panicked units do not contribute to scoring. So let's say that Darth Vader was over here and somehow I had 2 suppression on my Stormtrooper unit that's in melee with Luke. Because those Stormtroopers are Courage 1, and they're outside of range 3 of their commander and can't use his Courage bubble, that Stormtrooper unit would not count towards scoring, meaning that we would both have 2 units here, and nobody would score that point. So
neither of us secure it.
Yeah, right. So if neither of us have secured, we would not be scoring. Now, some objectives just say that you have to have somebody contesting it. Contesting is only having a unit that's not panicked there. But this particular objective is all about securing. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it to this point, I want to encourage you in your Legion journey. We've made a playlist that is on our YouTube channel that's all about like tactics and things like that. Colton's show is called Tactics Talk. And he does a great job with that. And we also just have some beginner-friendly videos available for you in the Tactics Talk videos. I encourage you to check those out. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want some extra insight, you can subscribe to our Patreon, where we have some exclusive vlogs and live streams and things like that, as well as early access to our content. And some of the higher tiers get some goodies like stickers and 3D printed products.
All of this that
and
we're
things
using
like
here.
that. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.